Hello and welcome to another edition of Superhero Movie Review Time. I'm your host Grant Liston, a very bored Englishman. Of all the films they could have made a spin-off of Daredevil, Cooking with Bullseye, a crime thriller with Kingpin, children's bedtime stories with Bullseye. Basically anything involving Bullseye would have been phenomenal. But we got Elektra. Oh boy, this film. Well, it was released January 14th, 2005, and it was a critical and commercial failure. It received genuinely bad reviews, so I will continue this proud tradition. So sit back and relax as I put myself through an hour and 30 minutes of cinema torture that is Elektra. So the film starts off with some really cheap storytelling about these two lots of warriors at war, both of them searching for this motherless daughter. Go figure. A motherless daughter who is basically the one. Yeah, just already I'm sitting there going, oh god, really? And then the film finally opens up with Elektra going on basically an assassin's run, taking out all these gangsters' security team. He finally comes face to face with the main gangster. And since being stabbed, it turns out that has given Elektra super speed and the ability to see into the future, but only for like 10 seconds. Getting stabbed did that to her. Well, on this newfound knowledge, I actually went out and tested the theory out myself. Hi there, I'm Grant and I recently got stabbed. Really painful, but now I'm going to try out my new superpowers. Here we go.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I did it! I'm black! It worked! They lied.
Just to be clear, guys, this film's storyline is incredibly predictable. It's so basic, it's painful to sit through. I was honestly sitting there going, oh, that person's going to die, this is going to happen in the storyline, oh, that means this, and it was spoon-fed to you. Like, the writer and director didn't trust that you'd understand their edgy film, and it's like, Christ, a 10-year-old could figure this out. And, oh god, we are constantly being reminded, constantly, that Elektra's mother was murdered by an unknown assassin. Yeah. Here's what I say to this. I've got $6,000 on my savings account. If the main assassin here is not the assassin that killed Elektra's mother, I will adopt a white tiger, I will adopt a killer whale, and I'll adopt 3 children off of Madonna. So Elektra's next mission is to stay in this swanky mansion on this island, and her job is to kill a father and daughter for reasons. But she decides not to kill the father and daughter for reasons. They're then attacked by some more ninjas who, when they die, they turn into a puff of green smoke for reasons. Can this film explain anything to me, please? Okay, let's move on to the main villain. Maybe he'll give me some laughs. His name is... I don't know. I'm going to call him Ned, he's that unforgettable. So Ned and his team are going to try and take out Elektra. And his team are not Luke Cage, the Spoon Boy grown up from The Matrix, Boobs, and a very interesting character whose name's Tattoo. And his ability is, he's got tattoos on him, but one's like of a falcon and another one of a wolf on his like abdomen here, and he can make them come to life and be his scouts and his attackers, and that's a really good idea. I think that is incredible. They could make a film of that alone as like a hero, or they could make him a villain in a better movie, but I was genuinely impressed by that idea. Anyway, their main objective is to kill Elektra, but they also want to recover something called the treasure. It's the daughter, isn't it? Yeah. So now Elektra's duty-bound to try and save the father and daughter for reasons that I just don't know. Like, at all. We then get this mini fight scene where not Luke Cage survives a shotgun blast to the chest but then gets crushed by a tree. Right. Spoon Boy gets stabbed. Yeah. And Boobs makes out with Elektra. Nice. Then all of a sudden, ninjas zipline down into the forest. Zipline down into the forest. Wearing white ninja robes that clearly stand out against the forest backdrop. Ninjas wearing white in a forest clearly standing out. Maybe they're ceremonial ninjas. Well, it turns out these are the good guys, and they whisk Elektra and the father and daughter away to safety. And these ninjas are led by a guy called Stick, played by Terence Stamp. Now, I only know the character Stick from the Daredevil TV show on Netflix, which, once again, if you haven't checked it out, please do. Fucking amazing. Anyway, the guy playing Stick in that show is really, really good. You know, the character's great, the acting's great. I'm not sure if the actor himself's actually blind, but he definitely sells the whole blindness thing, and like he's a very engaging character. While I have no problem with Terence Stamp, I'm pretty sure 90% of the time he's sort of just looking behind the camera like, hey, where's my check? Where's my money? Huh? I'm doing this crap film, I want my money. Yes, Elektra, yes. It's very, very boring and wooden, and he clearly doesn't want to be there. It's really off-putting. So later on, Elektra manages to contact the villain Ned and luring him into one final showdown using the Force connection? What the fuck is happening, film? Also, why is it in every fight scene Elektra's in, there's these bed sheets being flown around and she cuts them in half? Right? They happen in Daredevil, they do it again here, it's not artsy, it's pretty shitty. And furthermore, if the main villain, Ned, can control the bed sheets to float around, why doesn't he use one of them to strangle her or detain her instead of just going woo like a wanker? Finally, thankfully, we are now at the film's conclusion. Oh, Christ. So, we see Tattoo Guy get his neck broken by Elektra. Pretty brutal. No fucking about. She literally just goes up to him. Nice. She then waits for the villain Ned to use force speed and she stabs him as he's running. Pretty dumb, not gonna lie. And then she throws her sai through 7 hedges and then it finally ends up on the other side and stabs Boobs in the face. That's pretty dumb. Oh, but of course I forgot to mention, we do actually discover who the assassin was who killed Elektra's mother. And that was Elektra. Fuck this movie! Oh, it was incredibly irritating. So, here are my 3 good and 3 bad, starting with the bad, number 3. The poor script. Every line of dialogue was poorly written and underdeveloped. Like, every single line. Even the talk at dinner, you know, like with the kids saying, oh, I'm going for homeschooling now because I get in fights in school. None of it is believable. None of it is written in a way that would make me engaged in the storyline going on. It was such a trying film for me to get through where I tried not to get my phone out and just flick through Facebook. And I don't do that in general. I usually stay away from social media unless I have something to put on there. But I was itching for this film to be over because of this script was just so poor. At number 2, the storyline. Yeah, I know it's kind of similar to the script alone, but the storyline they chose, fucking hell. It's like they didn't want to make a good movie. It's just so predictable, and I know maybe back then in 2005 they thought, oh yeah, we're being edgy with all this. I'm like, no, it's so bland. It's so irksome. It's like, I never saw Elektra until I had to do this review, because I'm not going to review a film until I've seen it, but I always thought, I don't need this film in my life. I'm fairly happy with this film not being in my life. Since doing these reviews, I've decided to keep an open mind going into these films that have got a bad reputation. And my God, this one deserves the bad reputation. It is incredibly bad. And the number one thing that I do not like about this movie is the complete character change from Elektra. So let's recap. End of Daredevil, she's stabbed by Bullseye and she's laying in Daredevil's arms and her heart's beating away and then it stops, indicating that she has died. Then we fast forward a little bit more to the actual ending of Daredevil, and he finds her necklace on their special rooftop place, indicating she's not dead. Okay. But then it even says on the back cover of Elektra, after being resurrected from Daredevil, blah blah, etc. So we can accept the fact that she's died. So who resurrected her? Possibly Stick. They never mentioned that. Why do they resurrect her? Well, they kind of hint throughout the movie that she's meant to be the one, but then they throw it in your face that it's actually the little girl who's the one. So, but they never explain this. I'm literally just guessing this film. So how did they resurrect her as well? I know the comic book lore and I've seen the stuff on Netflix, which I will not spoil for you in case you haven't seen, but there is some form of a resurrection thing there, so sorry about that. However, it's very, very intriguing to know these 3 questions and why they were not answered in this film, even though they touch upon it on the blurb at the back. But furthermore, the actual character of Elektra. So yeah, for like the first 10-15 minutes of this film, she's very cold and distant and very much a loner. And I quite like that. It makes sense that coming from Daredevil, the trauma of being stabbed and then forcibly resurrected back into this world, that might leave some mental and inner scarring and whatnot. So yeah, I get that, the whole I don't want to get attached to anyone because I've been through death and whatnot. I get that. But then the second that she's teaming up with the father and daughter, she changes into basically her character from Juno, and she's loving and caring, and it's a complete snap, and I didn't like how the character turned out that way. I think if she had stayed that, cold self throughout the majority, got rid of the father and daughter, rewrote the script, recast the villain, and actually make him sound memorable. Actually, to be fair, if I'm going to save this film, I better do it properly. But yeah, it's just a mess. However, I do have 3 good things about this film, and it was a struggle once again to get these 3 good ones, but I'll see how I do. So I'll start with number 3. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Jennifer Garner. I expected to rip her a new one after her performance in Daredevil, which I gave her a pass for a bad script. But I thought, okay, now she's the lead character. She's got no excuses. I'm gonna absolutely slaughter her verbally. And she did alright. Yeah, it's not perfect. This film is far, far from watchable. But her performance was very, very honest, and she put everything into this performance. I saw a behind the scenes thing on Daredevil, and she would practice for nigh on like 6 hours a day on twirling the sides and getting the movement so they felt natural to her. It's dedication. You credit where credit's due. She actually tried to make this a good film. She failed, but not because of her, and I would be wrong if I didn't recognise her for that. So yeah, At number 2, the idea of the tattoo guy. I cannot be alone in thinking that's a really, really good idea. You know, for the life of me, pop culture has escaped my mind, but I'm sure it's been done before in some way. But I like the idea of maybe this, like, Native American film where, like, chief running water and blah blah etc. Or their forest is being cut down, they need to be saved, and the one guy who can save them is Tattoo Guy. Maybe a better name, you know, like the Ink or something like that. But he can then use like the falcon and the wolves to like come to the aid of the village. That would make a pretty good movie. Pretty basic, I know. I'm just spitballing, but I did just really enjoy that idea. And the one thing I did like about this movie is it was only an hour and a half long. You know, just I only had to suffer for that much. Like by the time you hit the 45-minute mark, you're like, whew, I've got through the hump sort of thing. The last 45 minutes will breeze by, and they didn't. Oh God, it didn't. But at the same time, it only took an hour and a half of my life. So I'm not too mad. If this was like a 2-hour, 2.5 hour epic, A, it wouldn't be epic, and B, just thank God it wasn't. I honestly would have committed myself, because this is just paint drying bad. So yeah, only an hour and a half long. I fit it in quite nicely. That being said, I am going to give this film a 2 out of 10. It doesn't get my worst rating because, quite honestly, I think this film just needs to be forgotten about as quickly as possible. At least with Spider-Man 3, that did get my lowest rating. It needs to be looked back on and rubbed in people's faces. This is how you do not make a superhero movie. This one is just bland and it doesn't deserve our attention. So, thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and of course leave me those dirty comments, and I'll see you all next time. Hey, Stan Lee wasn't in this movie!